Hi, my name is Emiliano Caballero and I'm here with Dave Huber for Modern Recording Techniques. This is the second part of the series of distance as a tool. In this section, we're going to explore close miking. We're going to explore basically getting closer to the source of the sound, to the instrument, and what that can do for us, for the music, for the song, and for the listener. In close miking, it's something that over the years has become more prevalent, has become the preferred style of recording for a lot of recordists, for a lot of musicians, producers, especially in the home studio era where most of the users or producers have one or two channels, a couple of microphones, and they always, it always sounds to me that it's very close recording. Why is this the case? From what we've been discussing with Dave, we were thinking about how in the modern home studio era, there is this trend to get closer to the sound source, hereby eliminating the room acoustics or taking the room out of the equation. That is a way of doing things. It's not the only way, or it's not just the best way. Think about this. Think about, as Dave said in the previous video, miking or distance as a tool. You can close mic for certain feelings. We were talking about Eleanor Rigby and the cellos from the Beatles, that they definitely have an interesting sound, not a common sound, or like not what a cello sounds like, because no one plays the ear next to a cello to listen to it. It's been listened in a room with the acoustics combined. So that is the main, let's say the main thing to have in mind, where distance, it's always at your disposal, and there are many ways to go about it. What's your thoughts, Dave?
Well, it's interesting to me that, I am an old man. I've been around for a long time. And I remember forever ago in the 70s, because I started out in the recording industry so young. And I remember walking into this one studio in Cincinnati, Ohio, forever ago. And this was in the 70s, and I walked in that room, and immediately your ears started ringing. The acoustics were gone. There was no reflectivity in that room at all. There was none. It was pure absorption. However, at that same time, on the other end of the spectrum, there's like Capitol Records and Abbey Road, which is room largely. And it's so interesting that I call it the sound sucker era of the 70s and the 80s, where everything was just pillows, just eliminates all the sound. And of course that didn't work and didn't stand up over time, because you do need that acoustics, not just through electronic reverb, electronic delay, electronic environment, through the actual room itself. So that's really interesting just to watch that evolution. And now we've come back to that idea of that room. If you had a room that was purely sound sucker, it would not stand up as a real recording studio in this day. And that does indeed come from the idea of separation, of trying to eliminate the other person, so you have of separation of the tracks. However, it can be taken to an extreme. And it's also interesting, like as E was just talking about, it's funny, we keep coming back to the cello. And double bass as well, because I was just at a special thing in Montana, and with the double bass, we actually said let's do this in Al Schmitt style. Let's bring that to an omnidirectional mic, taking it from a directional to an omni, and it totally opened up. And why did that open up? Is because it basically pulled it almost electrically pulled the distance back and started collecting more of the sound around. The other thing really to realize, and I think one of the most important things to realize, is that when you are zooming in on a microphone using close distance, that is exactly what you are doing. You are zooming in. And with a microscope, when you zoom in on something, you literally start just seeing a smaller and smaller and smaller section. And that can be taken to an extreme. And so all of a sudden you are like capturing just a small part of the cello, a small part of the guitar, just a micro environment, and realize that. For example, I started off, flute was my first instrument. If you're recording just in front, just literally in front of the blowhole of the flute, you're going to be capturing a very different sound because a lot of the sound comes out of the whole instrument. So if you put it just right there in front of the mouth, you're going to get a very harsh, very hard sound. If you put it in front of the saxophone and you literally stick it in the bell, you're getting the direct force with none of the acoustics of the instrument. So, to actually putting it down the bell versus putting it out more in front of the entire instrument, and you capture the whole thing. Very, very different sounds. And that is distance as a tool.
Something I want to leave everyone with. It's something I have learned through other producers and engineers, and something that I think is extremely important, which is listen to it. How do I decide where do I place a mic? Most of the time, I either put my head looking at the mic, or if I just want to isolate, let's say, the direct sound, I just turn my head and just with one ear, I just look basically move my head around and hear and listen. And that will tell you everything. Before putting mics, before sticking a mic somewhere, just listen, just go close to the mic and to the instrument, just step back, move your head, feel for where's the place that you love the most. Every instrument is gonna be different. Every acoustic guitar is gonna sound extremely different. Every instrument is gonna be different. So I'm not a huge believer of one size fits all. This is how you record a instrument. No, you use your ears, you listen, and then you decide. That is for me the step-by-step process. So have the musician playing with your own ears, listen around. The moment you find something you like, put the mic, then listen through the speakers, and before you start EQing or all that, just move the mic. That's the main thing I would say.
Awesome. So this is just talking about the idea of close miking, and just realizing that you are getting a micro zoom, and to experiment around with that. So that idea of close versus pulling off even a little bit can make a huge difference, and just difference in placement, and all of these factors really can make a huge difference in the sound. So we really appreciate your watching the video, and we'll continue talking about the idea of distance. And thank you very, very much for watching. We're just beginning the Modern Recording Techniques YouTube platform, and we would appreciate your sort of liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.